Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Shapurji Pollenji Group seeks a 3-year extension from the RBI for its Sterling Investment Corp to meet stricter capital adequacy norms after being reclassified as a mid-layer NBFC. This request is linked to a recent Rs 28,500 crore fundraising backed by Sterling's Tata Sons stake. Sterling was recently reclassified as a mid-layer NBFC, facing stricter regulatory requirements. RBI has raised concerns over its capital adequacy. Tier 1 and 2 capital ratios are required to be at least 15% of risk-weighted assets. The Institute of Company Secretaries of India has released an updated format for the annual secretarial compliance report, introducing improvements aimed at enhancing clarity, uniformity, and ease of reporting. The new format seeks to eliminate repetitive or redundant content, especially detailed descriptions already implied under statutory provisions. By doing so, the revised structure reduces verbosity and ensures that compliance professionals focus on the core requirements of the report. In a relief to GST filers, the Goods and Services Tax Network has announced that Table 3.2 of Form GSTR 3B will remain editable for the time being, contrary to the earlier advisory that proposed making it non-editable starting April 2025. India's Tier 2 and 3 cities are emerging as key hubs for Global Capability Centers or GCCs, driven by government support and rising talent. With 1,800 plus GCCs and rapid growth, the decentralization boosts jobs, innovation, and balanced urban development, shaping India's economic future. Karnataka aims to add 500 new GCCs by 2029, which will create 350,000 jobs and generate $50 billion in incremental revenues. Similar initiatives in other states reflect a broader strategy to decentralize economic activity and promote balanced regional development. India's smartphone exports surged 55% to $24.14 billion in financial year 25, overtaking traditional sectors like diamonds and apparel. Driven by the PLI scheme, the US, Japan, and EU saw major growth, marking India's rise as a global smartphone manufacturing and export hub. Urban Company is rethinking its approach to international growth by moving away from its earlier strategy of building operations independently in foreign markets. The home services provider, which is preparing for a Rs 1,900 crore IPO, is now focusing on partnerships and platform integrations to sustain its presence outside India. Urban Company has already exited Australia and the US. In the remaining international markets like UAE, Singapore, and Saudi Arabia, it is shifting towards partnerships. Hon Hai Precision Industry Company, Apple's primary iPhone manufacturer, is investing $1.5 billion in its Indian unit, signaling production shift away from China. This move aligns with Apple's strategy to diversify its manufacturing base amid geopolitical tensions and potential tariffs. The majority of iPhones made in India are assembled at Hon Hai's Southern India factory. India intends to revise foreign investment regulations. The goal is to monitor foreign-owned entities more closely. New rules may affect e-commerce and pharmaceutical companies. The government plans a new category for foreign-owned and controlled entities. Share transfers and restructurings could face stricter FDI rules. These changes aim to prevent bypassing FDI policies. Shiprocket, backed by Zomato, is preparing to file for an IPO with SEBI, aiming to raise rupees 2,000 to rupees 2,500 crore. The company, which manages shipments for D2C brands, saw a 20% revenue increase in financial year 24. Despite losses widening due to past acquisitions, Shiprocket turned cash flow positive in financial year 25 and is expanding into payments, cross-border shipping, and quick commerce. Euler Motors has raised Rs 638 crore in Series D funding led by Hero MotoCorp, making Hero's entry into electric 3 and 4-wheelers. Funds will boost sales, service network, and product development. With this round, Euler's total funding reaches Rs 1,420 crore, supporting expansion to 80 cities and increasing market share. The Securities and Exchange Board of India, or SEBI, has introduced significant updates to the bond market framework to bring more transparency and simplicity in pricing mechanisms, particularly on the request for quote or RFQ platform. To streamline yield computations, SEBI has mandated that scheduled payment dates be used for calculating bond yields without any day count adjustments. This change aims to remove complexities and create uniformity in how bond prices are derived, making it easier for market participants to understand and compare yields. The Reserve Bank of India, or RBI, released revised draft guidelines for investments by regulated entities, or REs, in alternative investment funds, or AIFs, aimed at relaxing norms. The central bank also acknowledged that the SEBI has issued its own guidelines. The RBI may exempt certain AIFs from these rules in consultation with the government if they are set up for strategic purposes. The revised guidelines will apply prospectively, while existing investments and commitments will continue under current regulations. The RBI has invited public and stakeholder feedback on the draft directions until 8th June 2025. Comments can be submitted through the Connect to Regulate section on the RBI's website. The government is planning to amend the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code to streamline the resolution process. A key change involves Section 31, subsection 4, potentially removing the requirement for bidders to secure CCI approval before submitting resolution plans to the Committee of Creditors. This amendment aims to ease the burden on the CCI and expedite resolutions. The Reserve Bank of India has proposed new guidelines capping regulated entities, or REs, investments in alternative investment funds, or AIFs, at 15% of total lender investment. While unrestricted investments up to 5% of an AIF's corpus are permitted, exceeding this limit and having downstream debt exposure triggers a 100% provisioning requirement. The CBDT has notified the revised Form ITRU under notification number 49/2025 published in the official gazette. This new form replaces the earlier version of ITRU in Appendix 2 of the Income Tax Rules 1962. Taxpayers who missed filing or made errors in their original returns now have a simplified and formal mechanism to rectify their mistakes. Tax professionals and CA firms should take note of the updated form and guide clients accordingly, especially given the structured timelines and tax liability calculations under Section 140B. Auto component manufacturer Bellrise Industries, whose initial public offering opens on Wednesday, has raised Rs 645 crore from anchor investors. Some of the marquee names that participated in the anchor book includes BlackRock, Capital Group, ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund, HDFC Mutual Fund, Nippon India Mutual Fund, ValueQuest, and Bajaj Allianz Life, among others. Companies across industries ranging from IT services and technology platforms to financial services, healthcare and retail are rapidly expanding their leadership teams with senior artificial intelligence professionals, signaling a decisive shift from experimentation to enterprise-wide AI deployment. This hiring trend is not restricted to reshaping organizational structures, but is also driving a sharp increase in compensation for AI leadership roles. Salaries for chief AI officers now typically range between Rs 2 crore and Rs 2.5 crore annually, while heads of AI and machine learning can command packages of up to Rs 1.5 crore. Despite Trump's preference for US-based manufacturing, Apple is moving forward with iPhone production in India. Foxconn is investing $2.56 billion in its Devanahalli plant, aiming to produce 1 lakh iPhones by December. The facility will prioritize housing for its predominantly female workforce, with dorms accommodating 30,000 employees, signaling a major expansion of Apple's manufacturing footprint in India. The filing of draft red herring prospectuses or DRHPs has remained resilient in 2025, reflecting continued optimism in the initial public offering market, even as broader equity markets have weakened and primary activity slowed. Between January and May, 85 companies filed their DRHPs with the SEBI, the highest tally for this period in over a decade. Among the marquee companies filing offer documents this year are Tata Capital, Urban Company, and Canara Robeco Asset Management. Akash Educational Services sends legal notice to EY over conflict of interest in Byju's dispute, alleging dual advisory roles. Akash Educational Services demands EY's withdrawal from proceedings and preservation of records amid a high-stakes legal battle tied to Byju's $950 million acquisition deal. IndusInd Bank is investigating former key management personnel for potential accounting fraud, leading to a significant net loss of Rs 2,328 crore in Q4 and a 71% drop in financial year 25 net profit. The probe revealed concealed wrongful practices and misleading information to the board and auditors. The bank aims for a clean slate in financial year 26 after addressing these issues. India and the US are expected to announce an interim trade agreement before July 8th, when Washington's 26% reciprocal tariffs on Indian goods are set to take effect. New Delhi seeks a full exemption from these additional tariffs and plans to protect sensitive sectors with quotas or minimum import prices. Morgan Stanley has revised its growth projections for the Indian economy. The firm anticipates a 6.2% growth for the fiscal year 26 and 6.5% for fiscal year 27. This upgrade is attributed to easing US-China trade tensions and strong domestic demand. Policy support and increased capital expenditure are also expected to boost growth. Jaguar Land Rover anticipates a sales surge in India. The India-UK Free Trade Agreement will facilitate imports. JLR aims to double its Indian sales within 3 years. The company plans to launch 8 new models, including EVs. JLR will also increase its retail presence and marketing investments. The company awaits clarity on duty cuts before launching more imported models. Brookfield Asset Management plans to ramp up its investments in India to $100 billion over the next 5 years from $30.6 billion currently, as part of a broader strategy to double its global assets under management. The New York-based alternative asset major, which manages more than $1 trillion across renewables, infrastructure, private equity, real estate, and credit, expects its global AUM to reach $2 trillion within the same time frame. Bajaj Auto on Thursday announced that it will acquire majority control of Australian motorcycle manufacturer KTM AG through its wholly owned subsidiary Bajaj Auto International Holdings BV. The move marks a significant shift in Bajaj Auto's role from a minority stakeholder to a majority owner, and is expected to strengthen the company's position in the premium and sports motorcycle segment. MCA has granted companies an additional 3 months until June 30th, 2025 to file Form CSR2 for financial year 23-24. CSR2 refers to the form mandated by the MCA under the Companies Act 2013 for reporting on corporate social responsibility activities. It's a 11-page form that companies falling under Section 135 of the Act are required to file to disclose details of their CSR spending and activities. In a remarkable feat that underscores the rising influence of Indian talent in the global corporate sphere, Vaibhav Taneja, the Chief Financial Officer of Tesla Inc., has emerged as the highest paid Indian origin executive in 2024. With a staggering $139 million compensation package, Taneja has outspaced tech industry stalwarts like Satya Nadella of Microsoft and Sundar Pichai of Alphabet. The centre has begun fresh discussions on a significant revamp of the goods and services tax structure to simplify it further and rework the rate slabs. There have been meetings at the highest level in the government recently on measures to make the tax leaner and efficient. The GST rationalisation has also gained urgency, with India signing a trade deal with the UK and closing in on one with the US to ensure industry does not suffer any local handicap. Bellvilla by Oyo has acquired Australian short-term rental platform Made Comfy in a cash and stock deal, valuing Oyo at approximately $5 billion. The acquisition expands Bellvilla's presence into Australia and New Zealand, adding over 1,200 assets to its portfolio. Oyo also acquired G6 Hospitality in December 2024 and anticipates significant revenue growth and profitability in the coming years. The Payments Regulatory Board Regulations 2025 or PRB regulations have been notified by the Reserve Bank of India to operationalize the amended Section 3 of the Payment and Settlement Systems Act 2007. The regulations replace the existing Board for Regulation and Supervision of Payment and Settlement Systems and lay down an end-to-end governance code for the new Payments Regulatory Board, covering its makeup, conduct, working procedures, committees, and the financial terms of its members. The Supreme Court of India has dismissed a review petition filed by the Chief Commissioner of Central Goods and Services Tax against a 2024 judgment in the case involving Safari Retreats Private Limited. The matter centered around the eligibility of input tax credit under GST law for properties constructed for leasing purposes. While the specific legal questions of the case were not revisited in the court's latest order, the dismissal of the review petition effectively upholds the original verdict that had implications for real estate and leasing businesses under GST. Vedanta Group announced an investment of Rs 80,000 crore in the Northeast region, targeting energy and infrastructure development across key sectors including oil and gas, critical minerals, refining facilities, power, optical fiber, system integration, renewable energy, transmission and data centers. This investment includes one of the largest exploration and development programs in the hydrocarbon sector in the region. The Securities and Exchange Board of India has relaxed norms for Category 2 Alternative Investment Funds or AIFs, enabling them to expand their investable universe and explore opportunities in the debt securities market. Under the revised framework, Category 2 AIFs can now invest in listed debt securities with a credit rating of A or below. The changes were initially proposed in a consultation paper issued in February and have been formalized through a notification dated May 21st. Pune-based KSH International has filed a DRHP with SEBI to raise Rs 745 crore via IPO, comprising a Rs 420 crore fresh issue and Rs 325 crore offer for sale. The magnet winding wire manufacturer exports to 24 countries and plans to use proceeds for debt repayment, machinery expansion, and a solar plant setup. Its financial year revenue rose 32% to Rs 1,383 crore.
This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.